The British had a global empire and were the ruler of the seas, and the sun never set on the British Empire, while Hitler was a nationalist, wanting only what was good for Germany. And to Hitler, Germany was where German was spoken, or had once been spoken. After the Roman Empire had fallen to the Germans, the Holy Roman Empire picked up where Rome left off, and the Romans separated from the Christian Church in Constantinople to become the western half of Christianity, while the Pope in Constantinople would move up to Moscow to keep the Russian Orthodox faith safe from the radical Islamic terrorists. When Jesus was walking the earth, German forts held back the Romans from getting across the Danube, so Germany was deprived of the benefit of Roman civilization, and by 200 AD, Germans lived from the North Sea to the Black Sea and were sharing a border with Rome. The Pope in Rome invented the title of Holy Roman Emperor because he wanted someone to be powerful enough to oppose the Pope in Constantinople, and Hitler wanted to be the next Holy Roman Emperor, but it was something of a race between the British and Hitler, although the British were more aggressive and had been practicing the business of empire a lot longer than Hitler. 1935 was a great year for the emergence of local self-help groups such as the early Nazis and some others that have remained in history anonymous. And while the Romans were notorious wine drinkers, the Germans mostly stuck to beer, and the British enjoyed anything so long as it contained alcohol. England was an island whose first name was Albion, a name given them by sailors from the Middle East who'd come looking for tin. And when the Romans came to England around 50 BC, they called it Britannia, but the Romans could not conquer the red-haired tribes in the north of England called Caledonia. England combined with Scotland was smaller than the state of Wyoming, and Hitler was from Austria that was the size of Indiana, while France was a little smaller than California and Nevada put together. The French Napoleon had been the first real attempt at democracy outside the great American experiment, and before Napoleon there were only kings and queens along with greater or lesser nobility, and no such thing as democracy had ever been tried before, including ancient Greece and Rome, because they kept slaves who could not vote. Government by election rather than birth actually started in Germany with Frederick the Great's grandfather, who'd been the first to suggest the idea of a popular democracy, but these elections were limited to voting within an aristocracy, so the actual first free and fair democratic election in Europe, not counting the French Revolution because that was just a terror, was the election of the Nazi Party in Germany. When Hitler trumpeted his democracy of the National Socialists in Germany, it was actually true, and his party was enthusiastically elected in a free and fair electoral landslide.